Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We're going to give a few minutes for everyone to come into the room and then we'll get started. All right, thank you all so much for joining us this evening for our virtual community meeting on the modernization of Douglas MacArthur Elementary School. My name is Artia Funderburk. I am the CIP Communication Specialist. We will be providing simultaneous interpretation throughout the presentation tonight. In order to utilize interpretation, you can select the globe icon. It'll be either at the bottom or top of your Zoom screen. If you cannot see it, there should be 3 dots that you can click that say more, and you should see the option for interpretation there. We have interpretation available in Spanish, Arabic, and Amharic, and I will turn it over to our interpreters to explain how to select interpretation in your native language.
Para español, oprime el globo en la parte inferior en su computadora y escoja el español. El icono cambia al español. En su celular, oprime el globo, escoja Internet para el audio y luego los 3 puntitos para seleccionar español. Gracias.
مساء الخير، نشكركم على الحضور معنا اليوم بهذا الاجتماع. بنحب ننوه بأنه هذه الاجتماع مزود باللغات بالترجمة الفورية المباشرة باللغات الثلاث: الإسبانيولية، الأمهرية والعربية. إذا كنتم عم تشاهدونا من التليفون، رجاء الضغط على أسفل الشاشة على النقاط الثلاثة في أسفل الشاشة لاختيار اللغة العربية أو اللغة المناسبة لكم، وبالتالي السماع عبر الإنترنت وبعدين اختيار اللغة العربية. إذا كنتم عم تشاهدونا من الكمبيوتر، رجاء الضغط على إشارة الكرة الأرضية لاختيار اللغة المناسبة، وكمان السماع عبر الإنترنت واختيار اللغة العربية. شكرا مرة ثانية على الحضور معنا.
My Amharic interpreter, feel free to introduce yourself.
Sorry. ጤና ይስጥልኝ እንኳን ለዚህ ስብሰባ በሰላም መጣችሁ። የትርጉም አገልግሎት ዛሬ ተዘጋጅቶላችኋል። የአማርኛ ትርጉም አገልግሎት ለምትፈልጉ የዓለም ቅርጿን በመጫን አማርኛ የሚለውን ምረጡ፣ ወይ በሴልፎናችሁ ላይ ከሆናችሁ ደግሞ 3 ነጠብጣቧን በመጫን እንደገና አማርኛ የሚለውን በመምረጥ የአማርኛ የትርጉም አገልግሎት ታገኛላችሁ። በድጋሚ እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ።
Thank you so much. And with that, I will turn it over to Erica Gulick.
Good evening. Thank you, Artia, and thank you to our interpreters. Thank you to you all for joining tonight for us to give you all a Douglas MacArthur project update, and we can answer some of your questions tonight. My name is Erica Gulick. I'm the Executive Director of Facilities with Alexandria City Public Schools. With me tonight, you have several members of the ACPS team, as well as the City of Alexandria supporting the project. Also Skanska, who's our construction management firm, and DLR Group, who is our architect. We invite you tonight to provide questions and comments throughout in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We will address questions at the end. We do, after the meeting, Artia does provide a transcript of all of the questions and comments that were received to the project teams so that they can inform our future work and any updates that we provide. Tonight, we're going to do a brief introduction. We'll go through the project timeline and progress. We'll also talk about the transition back to the new school in this summer, as well as next steps in communications going forward. And at the end, we'll have time for a question and answer session. Slide. So just some brief introductions. Again, I'm Erica Gulick. Azuka Bartlett is our Director of Capital Programs Planning and Design, overseeing this project. Paul Yumby is our Construction Project Manager, serving on this project. Artia Funderburg, who kicked us off tonight, is our CIP Communications Specialist. From Skanska, we have Joe Kaifas, who is our Project Executive, Mohammed Sow, who is our Project Manager on site, and Bill Lemley, who is our Superintendent on site. We also have City of Alexandria staff. And as I mentioned earlier, we also have Erica Lehman with DLR Group, who is the architect on the project. So just some highlights of the new Douglas MacArthur Elementary School. Maybe you're new to the Douglas MacArthur Modernization Project, or just to give everybody some of the information. Some of the highlights of the facility is the school will be pre-K, it will be serving pre-K through 5th grades. Currently, Douglas MacArthur serves kindergarten through 5th. So we'll be adding 4 pre-K classrooms, which we're excited about. The building capacity is roughly 840 students. The square footage is over 150,000 square feet. Just for reference, that is double the current swing space and more than double of the old Douglas MacArthur. It will have 84 underground parking spaces and 11 surface parking spaces. One thing we're particularly very excited about for the Douglas MacArthur project are the sustainability and energy efficiency goals this project will achieve. It will be LEED Gold, and it will also be ACPS's first net zero energy building, which means that the site will produce as much energy as it uses. We also worked very closely with RPCA to incorporate an office for them, as well as restrooms which are accessible from the outside to promote RPCA programs and community use. Just to go over the project timeline, we've been in this project for a while, since 2019, pre-COVID, if you would believe that. So we were working on the swing space. Douglas MacArthur moved into the swing space during the pandemic and is still operating out of the swing space, which is the old Patrick Henry building, while we've been working through construction. Currently, our Douglas MacArthur project, we have a substantial completion date per Skanska's contract of July 27th, 2023, which means that has to be the date that we are able to fully occupy, even while things are still going on and have been going on in the building. In August 2023, the building will officially be open for students, and we'll talk through how that transition actually occurs tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn the next slide over to Bill Lemley, to Mohammed Sow, our project manager, who's going to walk us through some more details on the project timeline.
Good evening, everyone. As Erica mentioned, my name is Mohammed So. I'm the project manager with ScanSco on site, full-time. Our team is extremely excited as we see the new year come in and we could really see the finish line right around the corner. Just to touch on a couple items from our construction timeline to finish. Currently, we have the roofing installation ongoing, due to wrap up around February. We have the facade masonry work beginning in January, continue on through mid-April. Our interior fit out and finishes, which are currently ongoing, due to finish around mid-July. We have the technology and furniture, fixtures and equipment. All of that due to start late April and finish around late July. We got our playground and landscape fields all due to start around mid-July and mid-April, and finish mid-July. Our substantial completion date is currently still on track for July 27th, 2023. School and staff return is dated for August 8th. And the first day of school, as you all may know, is August 22nd. And our final completion date, meaning once all the final punch list items and commissioning items are complete, that is October 19th, 2023. And with that, I'll pass it over to Bill to touch on some of the progress we've made throughout the construction progress.
Thank you, Mohammed. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Lemley. I'm the senior superintendent. So as you can see, we're going to show you some of these progress photos. The photo on the left is the building exterior, which is the west elevation. Our sheathing, as you can see, is about 90% complete, and our air barrier has started around the lower portion of the walls there. Our temp road has been built around the building to give us access for our lifts and for our deliveries. We actually have an enclosure inspection on that northwest corner there, and that'll get us enclosed with pretty much, will be at 90% all the sheathing. So the photo on the right is the courtyard. And as you can see, inside the courtyard, the north elevation, all the sheathing is complete, our wood blocking is complete, and our temporary window protection has been installed. Now over on the south side, pretty much the same, we're following the same procedure. The sheathing is all complete, and we're on the third floor, all the temporary window protection is in, and the wood blocking is also ongoing. Our goal is to get our temp heat going early next week. We have all the heaters have been delivered. So next photos, please. So as you can see in this photo, that's the high roof. That's the 3-story classroom area. The roof has been complete on that area. The gym roof is pretty much 80% dried in, and we're starting to put the TPO roofing on. With that being said, that now gives us a chance to go ahead and start getting those walls, the drywall installed in the insulation. Next photo. So that's the photo on the left is the level 1 quarter. So we've insulated the walls and we've gotten some close-in inspections. The goal is to start doing the drywall finishing very soon with the temp heat, and that will allow us to go ahead and start the tile sub, because that whole corridor gets wainscoting tile. Over on the right side, that's just another photo of the level 1 classrooms, how we've insulated the walls. And as you can see in the photos, all the MEP rough ends and sprinkler rough ends are pretty well all done on the first floor. Next photo. So the left photo there is the main mechanical room. You can see that the pads for the transformers and the switchgear has all been, it's sitting there waiting for it. The switchgear is due in early March. All the MEP rough ends, the sprinkler has all been done. We're just waiting to get the roof started on that area, which should be starting next week. And then the photo on the left, that's our our geothermal, all the piping for the geothermal comes into the lower level, and then it goes through heat exchangers, and then it's distributed out through the building with the fans. So just for, that is also the library stairwell that, as you can see, everything's been one-sided. The spray fireproofing is complete in those areas. So just for upcoming work, our goal is to start the brick facade here within the next 2 weeks. Our elevator is being delivered Wednesday of this week. The kitchen and cafeteria is the big goal for the roof to start next week. Level 3 ductwork is ongoing. Our painter actually started today doing block filling. Windows and glazing is coming up in February, which is a very important milestone for us. And our goal is to be getting our temp heat, as I said. The heaters have been installed, delivered to the site, and we're on target for a substantial completion in July. And with that, I'd like to kick it back to Azuka.
Thank you, Bill. On this slide, my name is Azuka Bartlett. Erica introduced me earlier. I'm Director of Capital Programs, Planning and Design. On this slide, we wanted to go over the transition timeline from the swing space to the new building. As we all know, the last school day for this year is June 16th. Prior that, we're currently working on bringing on a relocation consultant who will be working with the school staff and other ACPS departments, working through the logistics and planning for the move. And our goal is to have the consultant to start coordination by March of 2023. Our substantial completion we've mentioned is on July 27th. We're moving school administration and staff to the new building between July 28th and August 9th. And staff returns to the new Douglas MacArthur building between August 10th and August 18th. And to get ready for the new school year of 2023 for August 22nd. Next slide, please. Some of the programs and partnerships, we wanted to provide a quick overview. Currently, there's Campania before and after care programs and Alexandria City RPCA programs as well. For the new year, we're expecting to still continue having the Campania programs as well as RPCA programs, and also, as Erica mentioned, early childhood programs. If you remember, the before school program for current swing space was offered due to the late start for the swing space location. We'll be continue working with Campania and coordinate with them what that looks like for the new building. Next slide, please. Some operations and logistics information that we wanted to walk through on the slide. So as the school goes back to its location, we're anticipating that all the walkers will walk zones will be established back, and walkers will start back the school year of 2023 as walkers, and then the bus schedule and assignments will be available 2 weeks prior first day of school, as with all our other schools in the district. Bell schedule, we're working with the school administration, with our transportation facility and other leadership within ACPS. And most likely this schedule will return to the original schedule of 8 a.m. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Artia. Thank you.
Thank you, Azuka. So for next steps in communication, the construction phase is ongoing. We will hold another community meeting in the spring of 2023. At that meeting, we'll be providing an update on construction as well as discussing the transition timeline for staff. Communication for the project will be ongoing. Information will continue to be communicated on the Douglas MacArthur modernization page. and it will continue to be included in our monthly CIP newsletter that comes out the first Monday of every month. If you have not signed up for the CIP newsletter, please be sure to do so. If you have any questions as it relates to the modernization project of Douglas MacArthur, please feel free to reach out to Azuka Bartlett, our Director of Capital Programs Planning and Design, Paul Yumby, our Construction Project Manager, or myself, Artia Funderburg, CIP Communications Specialist. That does conclude the presentation portion of tonight's meeting, and we are going to open the floor for question and answers. It was requested that a transcript of tonight's meeting be made available to the public. It will. The presentation, a PDF format, which is downloadable and viewable, will be available on the Douglas MacArthur page tomorrow. Once the recorded meeting is captioned, then it will be made available on the Douglas MacArthur page as well. We do have a question as it relates to energy at the new building. You mentioned the building will generate as much energy as it uses. Where will the energy generated go? Does it go directly back into Douglas MacArthur? Does it get stored? Does it go back to Dominion? And how much savings for taxpayers are generated with this plan?
So net zero energy buildings, over a period of year, it produces as much, equal or as much or more energy as it uses in duration of a year. So in some instances, the solar panels will be generating enough. In some instances, it won't be, depending on the weather, the sun, and sort of the day of the time. So the system, what it tries to achieve is throughout a whole year, it produces as much or more energy as it would use in duration of a year. There won't be any storage available for this on the site, so we won't be storing any energy on site. I don't know if that answered all the questions. Erica, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I would just say for the public to know that one of the main components contributing to net zero energy is that we have solar or photovoltaic panels on the building, and in order to get those in place, the school board and the city elected to pursue a kind of public-private partnership option where the solar panels are purchased and supplied by a third party and managed and operated and maintained by a third party. And in doing that, we are basically we're saving the costs of not having to purchase those things, as well as not having to maintain them and make sure that they're working over the duration of 20 years, I believe. But in doing that, any excess energy that we may generate goes back to the grid. So just so the community is clear.
Artia, you want to go to the next question?
Okay, can we revisit a relocation consultant? So what exactly does a relocation consultant do? How much is the contract, and what are the deliverables and timeline?
So relocation consultant, it really helps with all the logistics that we would have to do with moving various different departments, moving the school, the staffing back to the main school. We utilized the same services when we moved Douglas MacArthur from the old building to the swing space. A lot of it is sort of helping out our staff members, what needs to move, labeling boxes. There's a lot of logistics that comes with the move. So those are the efforts that we seek help with relocation consultant. The contract amount, because we haven't procured the services, we don't have the amount available at this time. Their deliverables are tied to the deliverables of the project. As I mentioned earlier, we're bringing them on board by March. They will start their coordination with the school staff and as well as the administration, and coordinate everything that needs to be moved or relocated to another location. So all of those will be documented and sorted out prior the actual move date. So when it comes to moving, everything goes smoothly. And they also coordinate with our moving contractors, the dates, the logistics, and all those detailed information.
Thank you. Can you please remind us of what the budget was and if we are meeting it or coming in over budget?
I can start that, and Azuka, if you want to jump in. So we did not provide a budget update today. Most of what's happening currently has already been procured. The total construction is coming in, and we can verify and post on the website the final amount, but the total construction for ACPS as well as the city's portion is coming in around 76 million, which is included in what we had budgeted, and we did not ask for additional funds for the Douglas MacArthur project or have to transfer any funds to it.
Will early childhood have same or different times for start and dismissal?
At this time, we haven't totally determined that, but it's likely that it would have the same start time. There are only 4 pre-K classrooms proposed in the new school, and so that's not significant enough where we would really need to separate that operation.
Will teachers and staff receive extra pay for move-in time on their time during the summer timeline?
We are working with Human Resources and the school as well as budget to determine either if it can be done during their contract time or if an alternate arrangement is needed. So we have not determined that yet.
Is there an expectation to have other programs at this location? For example, will we continue to house the autism program?
So we're still working with teaching, learning, and leadership on, there are special education classrooms within the new Douglas MacArthur, and we'll be working on the exact programming of what those classrooms will be.
Could you provide some clarification on what does substantial mean as it relates to moving into the building?
Substantial move-in date, a substantial completion is when the project receives certificate of occupancy and it becomes basically occupiable building for staff and administration and all the occupants for the building. That's the definition for the substantial completion.
Do we have a date for when the electricians start laying wiring for the classrooms?
If we could have someone from Skanska respond to that.
Sure. I know we've actually already started laying wire inside the classroom for all of our rough ends, and the walls, ceilings. I know, Bill, I'm not sure if you want to add anything else there, but just we have started. We've done it for, I would say, 6 weeks plus.
Yeah, so as of right
Bill, if you
now,
have anything else to add?
everywhere
Yeah.
that the roof has been installed, we've been pulling wire. First floor is pretty much all done except for the cafe and the lobby area, which is the 1-story area that we don't have the roof on yet. But the 3-story classrooms areas, first floor, second floor is close to being done. Third floor is nearing to start. They've started to put the boxes and the receptacles and stuff up, and they'll be pulling wire there soon.
Thank you. It was mentioned that construction is on track to meet the substantial completion date. What is the probability of meeting that target? What is the date that has a 100% probability for substantial completion?
Mohammed, I'm going to ask you to respond to that if you're able to.
Sure. I would say our team is very confident in the substantial completion date of July 27th, 2023. We believe we've gotten a lot of good traction. And at this point in time, made the most of our major, not the most, all of our major equipments have been released. And just kind of getting through that hurdle, really, a lot of times, I'll say the heartaches of construction projects, but having that, released, major equipment under production, project tracking pretty well with the roof going on now. We're very confident in the fact that we'll get this project done by the 27th of July.
We've had a lot of challenges with the bus schedule in the swing space. Why not release this bus schedule far sooner so families can make adjustments to schedules in good time and red team the routes in real traffic in advance to reduce kinks and delays at the start of school?
So I'll jump in, and this question seems more related to transportation and not necessarily the project. Transportation's not on the call, so I certainly don't want to speak on their behalf. But I would note that they try to make the bus schedule come out as soon as they possibly can. But you have to keep in mind that we never stop enrolling students, and so we try to balance very well creating an efficient bus schedule and getting that out to families as soon as we can, with not having to make so many changes throughout the school year. But I know our transportation team is working very closely with our leadership in the community to constantly see how that process can be bettered. But I will let them know of your question.
The new building has been under construction for 12 months, and I estimate that the project is 40% complete. Can you explain how you will complete 60% of the project in the next 7 months? Again,
Mohammed or Bill, if you want to speak to that.
I'll just kind of make a quick note there. So for us, I mean, we believe we're again more than 40% complete, to be honest. And I do want to just kind of pass this one over to Bill as well. I know Bill just finished another project for a county not too far from us in Montgomery County. And I guess, Bill, do you want to just kind of touch on where you all were, maybe, you just for the project and just how you all finished that and just the progress there that you made in the last, I guess, 7 months of that project?
Yeah, the project I just came off of was very close to the same size. And we didn't start putting up drywall on the exterior until early January. But, it was a task to get it finished on time, but we did. I mean, most of your time is eat up between the foundations. I mean, you have a parking garage underneath of this, all the structural steel, all the exterior framing is up. All the roof decking is on, and the roof is probably 75% complete. Walls on the first floor are all framed. Walls on the second floor are framed, and the third floor is probably 40% framed. So the bulk of the work is the hard stuff. Now it's down to the drywall and the finishes.
Okay, what is the plan for traffic, specifically having a crossing guard manage high volume, unsignaled intersection to make sure it's safe for pedestrians?
Erica, you want to take that one, or?
I apologize. Are we talking about when the building is operational or during construction still?
I think the question is regarding after building is open.
Once it is open. So we, and we'll work very closely with the city. I believe a crossing guard is designated at this site, as well as there were some improvements we had to do in order to make it safe. And there will continue to be the light at Yale Drive, I believe, but we can maybe, this is a good, operationally a good point to bring up. And I think the team can work to address that certainly in our next meeting and hopefully on the website as well, just how that operation will work.
Do we have an estimated completion date for the sidewalk being finished?
Bill, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, so the sidewalk, we actually had the curb and gutter and the sidewalk subcontractor out there today, and he's prepping to pour this remaining sidewalk tomorrow. We've actually started moving the fence back. Our goal is to have it up by Monday, Tuesday of next week. Move back.
One thing to add is that we still go through inspections with TNES. So inspections may add a day or two to the timeline.
Have contracts for the entire project been executed within the available funds, or are we over budget and additional funds are needed to complete the project? I think we semi-answered this one already. If you want to revisit.
Yeah, I guess, Mohammed, do you want to speak to the procurement of your subcontracts?
I'm sure. So again, as I mentioned, most of our major systems, which are gonna have the most cost values, have been released and bought out already. We're very pleasantly pleased that we were able to get through those without having to hit any escalation costs, with just the dynamic, I guess, market conditions that we've been dealing with the past 2 years, essentially. So right now, most of all actually of our projects or contracts that we've executed, we've been able to stay within a budget when you look at it holistically.
And on the ACPS side, so the community is aware, we do these major modernization projects through a construction manager at risk method, where we bring the construction manager on early, so they're there during design and helping to inform any value engineering. And then we negotiate a guaranteed maximum price. That guaranteed maximum price for the full project was finalized and negotiated as of January, I believe, so a year ago, basically. And so from ACPS's side, we have fully bought the project. All of our money is encumbered, and for including contingencies and escalations as well, to be able to see the project through to completion.
This completion timeline appears exceptionally optimistic. Who bears the cost for schedule delays, the taxpayer or contractor?
I'll just speak to so as you heard from Skanska, they are confident in the timeline. ACPS is also confident in the timeline based on what we're seeing on site, what work we have remaining. Regarding if there are some extreme circumstances that do cause any delays, per our contract with Skanska, we do have a liquidated damages clause, which is $5,000 a day that they would have to pay for every day that is late. So it's not the scheduled delay wouldn't necessarily impact the taxpayer. But of course, we're working as a team and collaboratively in getting this done, and we're all committed to the schedule.
If energy goes back to the contractor, what's in it for taxpayers? What are the estimates for reducing operational costs for the school?
So, and Azuka, you can help me, but so we pursued a power purchase agreement really because it saved us, I think, close to $1.5 million or $2 million on the front end in capital costs. So it benefits the taxpayer in that your taxes aren't paying for the actual photovoltaic panels that are going on the building. Additionally, from an operations and maintenance perspective, the ACPS team is not currently equipped to operate and maintain the PV array that's being proposed, that's required in order for Douglas MacArthur to be net zero. It is completely new technology. This is our first net zero energy building, and we do not have the staff or the training to really maintain that. So on the operating side, I couldn't give you an exact figure, but we are definitely saving money in what we don't have to add to the operating budget. It is considered I see part of the question is this a PP partnership? It is considered a public-private partnership in that the financing, operating, and maintaining is happening through a third-party vendor. We think it was really a creative solution to be able to purchase to have solar panels be able to meet net zero energy without ACPS's funding and operating costs necessarily being at stake. So this was a unique opportunity that we pursued. I would also note that we're pursuing the same contractor for the Mini Howard project, for those of you familiar, which is much larger and saving us much more in upfront capital costs and operating maintaining. I know, just because it's another, I think the next question is related to disclose details of the arrangement on the third-party solar power agreement. And I will just say that contract, we're working through that contract and being finalized. It does involve Dominion, who's a major utility company and tends to have a lot of input on the contract. So once that is finalized, all of our contracts are public, but it is not finalized at this time, though they are authorized to work with us.
If you do not have the necessary funds to complete the entire scope of the project, what programs, if any, will be deferred until after occupancy of the building?
Currently, we have procured, as Erica mentioned, I mean, all of our programs that's necessary for this project. We're not anticipating any value engineering or value management that we need to do for this project at this time.
Could you share a little bit about the added value of utilizing a professional consultant over just going straight to using a moving company? Why we would choose to pay for a consultant versus bringing on a moving company ourselves?
Erica, do you want to add on to what I had mentioned earlier?
Sure. I would just say the move management company or relocation consultant, whatever we want to refer to them, is a company really that almost treats it as a project and does project management. And so what they specifically do that a moving company wouldn't do is meet with teachers, talk to them about what they need, where it's actually going in their next space, and then be that contact between the school and the actual movers to make sure everything gets transferred and everything is in the right place. We could just go hire a moving company, but that would end up being a little bit chaotic for the school team and would put a lot of pressure on the staff currently there to manage the move themselves. Our teachers have enough to do with trying to teach and deliver instruction. And so our goal is to limit the impact of this transition as much as possible, which is why we bring a relocation consultant on board. It also really, in a lot of cases, the moving company appreciates that this level of effort has been done before they come in, so that things are more organized.
For families that are new to MacArthur, can you please clarify on the walking zone distance? So if you live within half a mile or a mile, would you then be a walker or a bus rider?
So the walk zones currently for elementary schools are within a mile walking distance. So it's not a mile radius, it's a mile actual walking distance. And also for Douglas MacArthur, we don't have students cross Quaker. So it's really just students who, most of them are south of the school in that neighborhood along Janney's Lane, and then a few north of the school that can walk on the one side of Quaker. But the walk zone is a mile walking, and that's the same for all of our elementary schools.
How will children be affected by the October 23rd through October 29th differential completion dates?
So I think, and I'll let Azuka and Mohammed respond to this, but I think the question, and there's a couple other similar, there's a substantial completion date of July 27th, and then there's a final completion date in October. If we could just explain to the community what actually happens during that time so they can be aware.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, the substantial completion date really marks the date when you can start occupying the building. However, as with any project, there's usually, especially this project with 150,000 square feet, there will be a lengthy punch list to work through with our team. So in duration of that time, Skanska will be completing the punch list items. This will not affect the school. Usually the work is being completed in spaces that are either not occupied or either before or after school times. So there's no impact on operations or the learning side of the school. And Mohammed, if you want to add anything to it, please go ahead.
I'm sure. I guess I could pass this over to Joe if he has any items to add there. I agree with a few Azuka and what Erica said.
Sure. I mean, as excuse me, as Azuka had mentioned, we're predominantly going to be doing punch list related work at that point in time. After we do substantial completion, there's a period of turnover, O&Ms, and training that will occur. But during those timeframes, we typically don't cohabitate with any students at that point in time. There's some policies and procedures that we need to sort out, but the expectation is we're doing the bulk of that work off hours when the building is unoccupied.
Thank you. Let's see. How much fidelity do you have on design of the outdoor space? Can you share what you have so far?
Erica Lehman from DLR Group, do you want to respond to this?
Sorry, trying to get my videos to work. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by how much fidelity we have on that design. The design as being executed right now is pretty consistent or very consistent with the design that that we were showing the community all along. We have the early childhood play area inside of the courtyard as originally designed, and then an older kids play area that's down closer to Janney's Lane. And then of course we'll have, I think it's a U12 soccer field, turf field that will be on that sort of northeast corner of the site. And then of course the bus lanes, the drop-off locations, the entry and exit from the site has not changed since any of the approved plans. We went through a long process to get that reviewed and approved, so we've not made any changes there. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. Do we have a plan for kindergarten orientation, assuming that it won't be held in person at the new building?
Azuka, do you know if we've worked that out with the school yet?
No, we're still working with the school on that. We haven't determined the details for kindergarten orientation.
What security measures does the new construction provide for events like an active shooter?
So the building is designed per our safety and security services and best practice with security in schools. There will be access control on all doors. We will have the secure vestibule at the main door for the school to make sure there's everyone who's entering the building is checked. In addition, we'll have this is our first underground parking garage, which is a little bit different to manage. That will also be access controlled so that only staff are able to get in the elevators that are down there. So we work very closely with our safety and security services team on the design to ensure that we're able to do as much as we can to mitigate any situations, and we're keeping the safety of our staff and students as our top priority.
Is the FF&E package out for bid and on schedule for installation prior to occupancy?
So the FF&E package is currently being finalized with a vendor that we have already on contract. So we would not need to put out a bid for it. It's already a competed contract, so it provides the best value for ACPS. We're currently working on finalizing design prior to the end of the year, and early next year we'll be placing the order for the furniture package.
Will the fields and playgrounds use real grass?
Erica Lehman, you want to take that question?
Sorry, which question were you trying to have me answer? I didn't hear.
Will the fields and playground use real grass?
Yeah, so the fields do not use regular grass. The fields are a turf field. There will be real grass planted around in other landscaped areas of the site. So, but then the playground has a play surface on it, so it is also not grass, but we have an outdoor classroom area that'll have grass and other sort of landscaped grassy areas out in front of the building, etc.
Thank you. If you could share what punch list items might be included for the 2 months while students are learning.
I could pass this one on to Joe as well. Joe, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, no, we're expecting the punch list to be pretty minimal. I think as it was mentioned, the building is pretty sizable, so we are expecting a fair amount of punch lists, but for the most part, we anticipate those to be limited to, touch up, point up and painting, some minor caulk joints, some just, expected miscellaneous and minor items at that point in time.
Okay, I think there are a few other questions which we weren't able to get to, but I think we probably have time for one more. Artia, if you want to ask that last one and just clarify about when the presentation and recording and everything will be posted.
Sure. Let's see. So the question is about posting the slides and plans after the meeting. And if we could share a little bit about the learning garden space that will be available. So the PDF version of tonight's presentation will be available on the Douglas MacArthur webpage tomorrow. We do have to send the recorded video out for closed captioning. And once that is done, it usually takes about a week. That will then be made available on the Douglas MacArthur page as well. Updates will continue to be made available on the webpage bi-weekly, and there will be monthly updates in the CIP newsletter. Any questions that we were not able to get to tonight, we'll be sure to share with leadership, and it will be used to guide our FAQs on the Douglas MacArthur webpage. We thank you all so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and we look forward to seeing you all in the spring for our next community meeting. Thank you so much.